Hello, everyone. This is Bob Lowe, CSIA Executive Director. Thank you for attending the May CSIA webinar. Today's webinar will provide you with an understanding of how your website can provide the best image of your company. Be sure to ask questions in the Q&A box. The host and sponsor of our monthly webinars is Software Toolbox, a CSIA partner member. Software Toolbox helps system integrators lower their risk on projects that involve software by providing them a unique mix of off-the-shelf software products and rapid response technical support that minimizes the need for custom code and lowers field startup time risk. I would like to introduce today's webinar presenters, Wendy Covey and Holly Nishikawa. Prior to co-founding TREW Marketing, Wendy spent much of her career building and producing successful global marketing, events, and services programs as part of the National Instruments Marketing Leadership Team. At NI, she held the positions of Senior Leader of the NI Global Software Services Business, Global Events Manager, and the North America Marketing Communications Manager. Wendy holds a bachelor's degree in journalism and marketing from Texas A&M University. Holly serves as a specialist in web marketing, including website design, search engine optimization, search advertising, content marketing, social media, and marketing automation. With an educational background in advertising and marketing, Holly brings a creative and analytical approach to all her marketing projects, using data-driven strategies to craft content marketing plans that meet client goals. So, without further delay, here are Wendy and Holly.
Thank you. Hi, this is Wendy Covey, and thank you all for being here today as we explore the topic of making your website worth the visit. We're both, Holly and I, are from TREW Marketing, and just very briefly to tell you about our business, we are a full-service marketing firm located in Austin, Texas, and we solely work with engineering, science, and technology companies. So within this niche, we offer a variety of services, and much of our time is spent on website development, which is our topic for today. So to kick off our agenda, we'll be discussing these 4 key elements of effective B2B websites: simple and consistent design and messaging, intuitive site navigation, compelling content, and optimizing that content. We'll be using both the chat pane as well as the polling features in your WebEx pane today. So if you would briefly locate those, and just to get you warmed up and using this control panel, if you would please chat out of these 4 topics, which are you most interested in learning about? And that'll help us guide our discussion and the time we have today. So if everybody would just chat that over, is it design and core messaging, navigation, content development, or optimization? Okay, thank you. I see a few responses. Okay, design and messaging, optimization. Sounds like we have some good topics here. A little bit for everyone. Well, to get us started, I want you to think about your own company's website. Is it strong? Do you feel like it provides a good representation of your company? Or do you think it's mediocre? It may be, it's okay, maybe it's outdated, has some outdated content, but it looks nice, or maybe you feel like it's weak. It doesn't doesn't represent your company well. It has a dated look to it. You're embarrassed for your prospects to look at your website. So I'm curious how you rate your site today. So if you'll find the polling mechanism within your control panel, find the poll, and we'll open up a poll where just, if you'll quickly respond, how would you rate your company's website? So you should see the poll show up here on your control panel, and if you'll just click one of those: strong, mediocre, so-so website, or weak, and we'll look back in a few minutes and see how this poll pans out. In the meantime, let's discuss why we're here today. Why are we talking about your website? Well, if you think about the functions of your website, it serves as an experience of your brand. It, in many ways, personifies who your company is. It's used as a lead generator, a place where people can hopefully go and fill out a form or interact with your company, find out how to call you, how to contact you. And it's a sales tool. It's a vehicle to communicate what your company is and what you offer, and hopefully something that your salespeople can use as well to further communicate about your company. So at a high level, you may think of these three things as the main functions of your website. But in reality, there we go. In reality, your website does so much more. It can help you recruit new employees. It can help you support your existing customers. It can serve as a repository for content. It can even act as a virtual salesperson. Instead of hiring that fourth person to go out and sell on behalf of your company, you can use your website actually as a sales function. So in essence, if your site has the right strategy and is executed properly, it can work as an efficient part of your overall organization. So let's look at some statistics out there to help underscore the importance of your website. 78% of engineers studied, and this is a 2011 survey from EDN, say that they rely on manufacturers' websites for information pertaining to their job. So this goes beyond just, I need to research a frame grabber for my, my test system or whatever. This is relying on websites for information, for education. But yet 23% of businesses are invisible online. They can't even be found. So Google estimates 93% of people hit the web to find businesses, but 23% of those businesses don't even show up on search. This is a big issue. So a big opportunity, but also a big issue. We took our own poll in 2012 of engineers and asked, how do you stay informed? What are the ways you seek information on new technology, on industry trends, on products? And here's what we saw. The top 4 responses all related to web. You see here 80% of the engineers that we spoke to use search engines as their primary way to seek information. Beyond that, they go to vendor sites, they go to the websites of industry publications and technical blogs. Now, if you look further down the list, you'll see trade shows listed here, and it's not uncommon for us to talk to companies that spend the bulk of their marketing budget in trade shows and maybe print advertising. And if you're one of these companies doing this, then you have a serious issue with where you're placing your marketing bets and where the type of information, the type of sources that people are actually using to stay informed. So in summary, your website is the single most important marketing investment you can make. So let's go back to our poll and look at our results. Can we publish the results?
Do you see them, Holly?
I don't. I
Wendy,
still see the question.
Okay, you don't see the results. I can give it to you real quick. The first is 13%, B is 37%, C 17%.
Okay, so 37% of our audience today said the site's mediocre. Is that correct? And that's the bulk of the responses here. So there's a reason we're all gathered here today, which is how do we move our sites from weak to mediocre, and mediocre, of course, to strong, and what are the ways to do that? So we have 4 key elements of making your site one that's worth visiting. And the first is to simplify your message. It's to be able to tell your story but prioritize your message. It's to be consistent in your design and your branding, and to make your content brief. So let's dive into this. Your homepage is your online storefront to your business. It is the first impression people have many times of your business. And just as a quick question for you to think about, how much time do you think you have to pique a visitor's interest before they leave your site? It's not long. You have 10 to 25 seconds to grab that person to show that your site is relevant to the information they're looking for and that you're a credible company. 10 to 25 seconds, that's not long. So let's do a test. I'm going to show you a website here, and I've covered up the company's name since I'm maybe being a little bit critical of the site. So take a look at this site. We'll pause for 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, quick. What's your best guess at what that company does? And what do you remember about that site? Well, I'm guessing that you're not really sure exactly what they offer. You probably saw different product offerings, but they weren't really prioritized in your mind, so you really don't know what their flagship product is or service that they offer. And there wasn't probably much that was memorable about that site. Let's look at another site. Oh, I'm sorry. So you could tell probably right away, I would rate that as a pretty weak site. That users only read about 20% of the words on any given page. So if your site, such as the one we just saw, is chock full of words and you're not using any images to help underscore your message, you're missing a big opportunity and you're most likely not getting your message across. So let's look at another site. And again, you'll see little white places where we've removed the company's name. What do we think about this site? Well, let me give you some observations about this site. There are 8 different colors, 7 different fonts, 10 different logos. There's no real story that's being told on this site. Definitely no priority. I'm not sure what they do or what they lead with. And because there's so many individual messages, there's really no primary message. There are 533 words on this page. There's 11 categories of navigation and 35 sub-options for navigation. And all in all, there's 107 links on this home page. So in other words, there's a lot going on here. And it's very difficult to know what they do. I'm very turned off by the site. I don't want to spend a lot of time here. So this company is undergoing a redesign, thank goodness. And here's where they're moving. So now, as I look at this website, I see a clear brand and style to this website. It's pleasing to my eye. I see very clearly that this company works in aerospace tests. Right here, I see the airplane, I see avionics test solutions, front and center. This site is targeted to both C-level and engineering audiences. Whereas if you look at this previous site, I don't think a C-level person is going to spend too much time here. And the priority of this site is on both products and solutions, so it's more balanced. Okay? And we'll be showing a lot of examples throughout this presentation because we feel like the visual helps underscore, our key points. So here's IBM. We all know IBM. And in 2013, they were a $105 billion company. And here you see there are 6 categories of navigation, just 6. The previous example had 11 categories of navigation. Here there's 41 sub-options and only 127 words on this whole page, 127 words. So we did the math, and that comes out to $827 million per word. So think of all of the prioritization and negotiation, most likely, that had to take place in order to prioritize content down to 127 words for a company of this size. So we encourage you to think like this and think of how to prioritize your key messages and not overwhelm a visitor so that they're not sure what your key messages are. Okay, here's another example of a company. And this company provides genomic services. It's a scientific company. And you see here that their site, it's very text heavy and has an old school navigation on the left-hand sidebar with a bunch of twisties. Again, a lot of options. It's not compelling. It's not making me want to dig in and learn what they do. And here is a redesign. So now, very quickly, I can see that this company Asuragen has biomaker solutions, clinical trial support, and FFPE. So I can see the areas of services they provide. I can very quickly find the information I need, and there's a pleasing graphic, very pleasing to the eye, makes me want to interact with this site. So the second key element of your website is intuitive navigation, providing clear paths to your core offerings, going mobile, and serving up contact information. Now, providing clear paths is a very important element of your website, as people aren't going to stay too long if they can't find a path to relevant information. This is an example of Viewpoint Systems. And some of you may know them. They're a member of CSIA, and I think we may even have Jim Campbell here today. Jim, if you're here, say hi to everybody in the chat pane. Jim's company, as you can quickly see, provides 3 primary services: automated tests, embedded systems, and monitoring and control services. And you can see this because on his website, on the home page, you quickly see these 3 categories and can scroll between them. You also see a very brief, high-level message that is a differentiating statement about what Viewpoint offers. This is an excellent example of having a clear path to your core offerings. Here's another example. This is Distech Integration, also another service provider. And very quickly, you can see that this company offers modeling and simulation, embedded software, and automation and test. It's repeated throughout the site, and you can quickly drill in to one of these areas because most likely you're only interested in one, and you can find a path directly into, say, embedded software and find out what they do there. The other thing that's important to point out on this site is that Distech specializes in off-highway. And right away, if you look at the visual here, you have a tractor. And it's nice, it's pleasing to the eye. I like how the sun interacts with the tractor. And front and center, it says off-highway expertise. So if I land on Distech site and I'm not an off-highway person, I will know that this site is not relevant to me and I won't spend time here. So it does a good job of speaking to the right audience and not wasting time on people that aren't a good fit as well for the company. Okay, here's another example. This is Parallon Business Solutions, and this is a $2 billion company that offers business services to hospital operators. And think about that, a $2 billion company. They have 9 divisions, and their divisions have names that aren't necessarily intuitive to their target audience. You know, they make sense internally. They're names like Health Trust, things like that don't resonate outside the 4 walls of Parallon. So what they did on this site is they took what are the pain points? What is their target audience trying to solve? They're trying to reduce their IT costs. They're trying to improve their purchasing power. And they took these key terms and put them right here in the navigation. Not only does this help the target audience to find solutions in the manner in which they're thinking about their solutions, but it also helps them with search because they've studied what are the things that our target audience is most likely going to search on. And things like reducing IT costs were very popular search terms that they wanted to make sure that they had represented on their site. Okay. Now, you may not have thought much about whether or not your site is mobile ready. Or maybe you've thought about it and said, you know what, it's not really relevant. I'm B2B, you know, does it really matter? I'm here today to tell you that it does matter. 50% of all U.S. adults carry smartphones today, not just mobile phones, smartphones, 50%. And nearly 1/3 of all American adults own a tablet or an e-reader. And they're not just carrying these around, they're using them to search. So here you see the trends and you know, past trends and prediction of future trends on how people are searching and which device you're using in order to search. So you see in 2014, the gap is closing very quickly, and by 2015, we see that searches will be equal between desktop and mobile. So mobile does matter, and you need to think about the mobile experience for your website. And there's different ways to do this, and we don't have a lot of time to get into programming techniques, but we wanted to show you one example, just responsive design. So we're showing the Parallon site here again. And so how the site is built is when someone visits the site from a mobile device, it automatically renders differently. So this is the desktop view, and here you see a view from an iPad. So you can see the navigation is now stacked, the feature boxes are stacked, and usability studies show that people on an iPad or a mobile device are willing to scroll more than on a desktop. It's fun to scroll on an iPad or a smart device, you know, with the touch screens and all that. So, the responsive design includes longer home pages. Finally, we wanted to touch on having contact information very visible throughout your site. And here's an example from Gopal Electronics. And you see right up here we have a contact button. It's also part of their About Gopal area. And then on their footer, there's a contact information that follows the visitors throughout the website. So don't make me work to figure out how to contact you. Make it very visible. And that's what we want you to take away here. Some companies will put a form here, and that's fine too, as long as it's very, very brief. But I like here, engineers like to have control, and this is a good way that they control the interaction. They can call, they can email, etc. Okay. Now moving on to the third key element, I'm going to turn over control to Holly.
Thank you. Well, just as a reminder, if you guys have questions on content and how to optimize that content, go ahead and use the chat pane, and we can field those questions as I'm going through the presentation, or we can do them at the end as well. All right. So the next two sections will be about how to make your web worth exploring and worth returning back to. The first two sections of this presentation, if you consider building your website, it's almost like building a house. We talked about, you know, building the rooms and building the walls, and maybe the front yard and the garden is the home page, and making it very inviting to come in. And now the next step is to furnish that house, make it appealing, and that's through content. Make it your home. And the first thing is you want to make sure you create content to guide visitors through the sales life cycle. So having a learn, try, buy perspective covering all audiences wherever they are in the different stages of your sales cycle. The second thing is publishing premium content like webinars or white papers to convert visitors into leads. And the third is to write blog posts that attract not only your target audience, but also search. So marketing has changed. Instead of one-way interruptions, web marketing is now about delivering useful content at the precise moment that a buyer needs it. And so this speaks to prospective customers are now guiding themselves through the sales cycle by reading online content that they want to read and on their own time. So if you think of content in different stages of the funnel here and use it to attract and convert web visitors, you have a couple different sections. So you have a get found section at the top of the funnel, publishing and optimizing your content and promoting higher value content. So the best way to do this is through your blog. Very educational, high level, about 500 words per blog post, and create each blog post to funnel visitors to your lead generating content like white papers. So you've heard this before, and we'll say it again, and that content really is king. In order to get found by your audience, Google needs to find you as well. And some of the best ways to do this is to have dynamic web content, which is your blog. It's a great tool to keep your content fresh and engaging and actionable. And as you see here on the cycle, having good content is what starts and ends this increased trust and engagement in your business. It increases your SEO and your rankings. It increases your click-through rates to generate new leads and new business. As you create new content that's technical, it's perceived as a higher value, and you get more brand loyalty out of that, which increases your trust and engagement. So it's quite a cycle here, starting and ending with great content.
Holly, there's a question about content, and how do you define content as being fresh? How often should content be updated on a website?
Well, by fresh, we mean, I'm really referring to your blog here, and a blog can be updated as much as multiple times a day to, we recommend starting out possibly every 5 to 10 days, and we feel like that's a pretty good first step that's manageable to keep your content fresh. And we mean that, one, because Google looks at how many pages of content you have, so they're indexing these pages, and Google wants to see that you are a credible website. They want to see that you're giving back to this online community. Good question. So here's an example of a client called CSIA Technology and how they use content to generate leads. They had a great co-marketing opportunity with their partner Freescale. Freescale was launching a product called the IMX6 platform, and at the same time, CSIA Technology saw this as a great opportunity to also launch their wireless card that fits into the Freescale IMX6 that gives it the wireless connectivity. So the first thing that they did was they created this campaign page that you see here, and there's a couple things that this campaign page does content-wise. One, it tells people why CSIA was chosen as the wireless connectivity partner. And number two, it also tells visitors what advantages are to adding wireless to these IMX6 boards. So here's your learn content. Your try content, we'll see here in just a moment, but it's this white paper. And this white paper is tactical. It's how to add wireless connectivity to these boards. And then your buy content, you see on the button that says buy the FX SDCAN now. So here's our try content, and this is an example of what we call a landing page. So once someone says, yes, I'm interested in learning how to add wireless connectivity, they get to this landing page of downloading this white paper. And there's 4 things here that I want to point out that makes this landing page compelling for people to give their information to in exchange for this piece of content. So the first thing is the title. It's very straightforward and it's succinct. The second thing is having a descriptive subtitle, gives it a little bit more context as to what they're going to learn out of this white paper. The third is having some brief text, maybe 1 to 2 paragraphs as well as a bulleted list that tells people what they will learn out of reading this white paper and why they should download this white paper and how it will be beneficial to do their job better. And the fourth thing is the form. So having an embedded form on this right-hand side here makes it very immediate to get to that content. They have their required fields here, and they have a couple optional fields as well, which is nice. The shorter the form, the higher your conversion rate. And once they go ahead and fill that out and click download now, they have access to this premium piece of content.
And before you move on,
Sure.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, before you move on, I noticed a related question on forms. And the question was, do you find that providing only a fill-in-the-blank contact form is more work for a site visitor than posting an email address? So this is, I believe, a question in response to something I touched on, which is the general contact my company page. And what we find is it's pretty much a toss-up between what people are willing to do. I wouldn't say that one is more or less work than the other. So when it comes to someone contacting your company, I like to provide both means of contact information from the contact page, so having the email address for your company as well as a short form. But then when it comes to what Holly's talking about, which is having a short form for a piece of content, We definitely feel like this is the industry standard way, is to have a very short fill-in-the-blank contact form.
Great. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going with this example. I love the questions. Keep them coming. So to continue content for lead growth, they had this rolling thunder effect with their content plans. And so around this Freescale campaign page, they not only had the white paper with the white paper landing page, but once people converted on that white paper, they also got a couple brief emails that helped guide them to finding the right product that meets their needs around adding wireless connectivity. They had a news release. They worked on backlinks, which is great for SEO. And then they have 2 new pieces coming out in the next few months or so, which is a recorded webcast, which will be another piece of lead generating content, as well as having Freescale record a video as to their credibility of why they chose them as a partner. So all of these pieces of content have the same messaging, and all of them together just really help to add that credibility. And so the result was a 320% lead growth over a 4-month time span. And to this day, you know, a couple months later, they're still continuing to generate leads through this campaign page. So the next thing is why blog? And it's because blogging produces very big results. And a couple things here. B2B companies that blog generate 67% more per month than those who don't. And companies with more than 311 index pages report an approximate 74 leads per month. And you can see here on this graph below, companies who have less than 300 index pages are producing 5 to 20 leads a month. Over 300 pages, they're producing well over those leads. And so not only is it producing big results, but your blog really provides information that's valuable and timely. It can position your company to be experts in your industry. And it's easy to post and it's easy to share, so you're able to reach new audiences that you might not be reaching with maybe your service pages. And so to prove some of these results, we're sharing some of ours from last year. And here is a graph. On the blue chart are the number of blog posts produced each month. So you can see starting in July, we started to increase our frequency. And the green trend line is the number of leads generated each month. And the yellow marker published premium content, so lead generating pieces of white papers. And you can see here that as our blog posts increased and as we started to generate premium content, our leads increased quite a bit as well. And in fact, from the first half of the year to the second half of the year, those leads quadrupled.
And I'd like to make a comment. We discussed earlier how Silex repurposed their white paper content into different form factors, such as a webinar, a press release, a landing page. What True Marketing did is quite the opposite. We took our blog posts, and when we had enough blog posts on a specific subject, we packaged those into premium content. So that really the inbound paper you see here in the middle was a packaging exercise more than creating content from scratch. And so it's a nice way to build a repository of content over time and to attack creating a white paper, some piece of premium content without it being quite so overwhelming and time intensive. So it's a great tactic to consider as you're thinking about your own content strategies.
Great segue into this last section, which is optimizing your content intentionally. And when you optimize your content with a strategy, you're doing a couple things here. You're ensuring your organic traffic from Google is high quality and it's the right audience. You're having a strategy. So when you have a strategy, we really try to get you guys to be very thorough with your keyword research, and having a long tail focus, so being very specific, and think tagging. So all of the details around search engine optimization is around tagging, just taking it as one step extra when you publish your content. And so SEO is not a magic trick. It's really about who is the most diligent and the hardest worker in your area of content. And so when we boil it down, there's 5 main things that affect SEO. And the first one is the keywords on the page. So doing keyword research ahead of time. What are the topics you want to be found for? The first step. Use those keywords not only in the content, so your header, your subhead, the body of the content, but also in the meta tags. And that's something you do through the back end of your website. The second thing here is links to the page. So internal linking from your blog to your service pages, and external linking. A great way is press releases. When you put out press releases, media sites pick them up and they backlink to your site. That's gold in Google's eyes. The third thing is having new content. So again, it's that fresh content. The fourth is social media. Twitter and LinkedIn, we found, are great avenues for technical companies because they have a lot of technical thought leaders on those 2 channels, and they're able to share your content. And then the fourth thing is your site architecture. So making sure your keywords are used throughout the site so Google knows that your entire domain is around a specific topic. And so to ensure you're getting found by the right audience, it all comes down to the keywords you choose to use in your content. So really think about what a user will type in to find your business. And so for service companies, a lot of times you want to think of it in terms of a verb, right? So it's not just embedded systems, it's testing embedded systems. It's integrating programs into embedded systems, right? So think a little bit longer and more specific as to the service you provide, and that'll help you get more specific keywords. This is an example of what a search demand curve looks like in terms of Google. So on the y-axis, you have the number of monthly searches, so think of that as impressions. So something like an engine dyno would probably get 10,000 or so impressions, if not more, so very broad. And then on the x-axis, number of keywords. So how many keywords are out there for these impressions? And the biggest opportunity here is in this chunky middle onto long tail. That's where the most amount of keywords live. And that's where you'll find if you optimize for these longer tail keywords, you'll get found on the first page of results. There's less competition. And in fact, there's a really neat statistic out there that 18% of all daily Google searches have never been done before. So there's a lot of opportunity to get found for these chunky middle, long tail keywords. And so here's an example of how to implement keywords and SEO into your content strategy. So in this example, we're taking TREW's example of a webinar we did a couple months ago on how to build an SEO keyword strategy. And we purposely decided to optimize for SEO keyword strategy because SEO on its own is too broad, could mean a lot of different things, very competitive. The SEO keyword strategy is exactly what we're talking about in this piece of content. So in YouTube, we put it in the title, we put it in the description, and we put it in the tags. And what this does is it tells Google, style my piece of content as how to build an SEO keyword strategy. So when you look at Google search, you're seeing those index cards shown here at the bottom in your meta title and your meta description. On our domain, we blogged about it. And we use that keyword in the URL of the blog post, in the title, in the image alt tag. So every image you upload to your website should have an alt tag box that helps Google file away your images with specific keywords and also in the content. And so here is an example of how this keyword trended over time by doing all those taggings. And we're looking at the orange line here. So mid-March, this is before the content was published. We did not rank at all for this keyword called SEO keyword strategy. By late March, we published it, and you can see it's going from 0 to about 40, which is the 4th page of Google search. And a week later, we're here at 20. And so this is tracking the blog post specifically. If we were to track the actual video YouTube, it would be much higher. Video does wonders for search. So think on-domain optimization and off-domain optimization as well. And I really like this example. Yeah.
Now, Holly, there's a good question here. It says, most blogs I encounter when researching an article were obviously written just to fill space and attract web spiders, and it's off-putting. And I think that it's an important point of striking a balance between having the right keywords woven throughout your material, but not going so far as to alienate your reader. And particularly with a technical audience, the type of information that you publish definitely needs to be meaty and helpful. And so can you give an example of the process you go through to determine blog topics and relate those back to keywords and how it kind of all comes together?
So there's a couple ways to do it. One way that I like to do it is I like to start with the content itself. I write it out. So in this example with the keyword research webinar, we knew we wanted to do some sort of recorded webinar around how to research keywords. And we didn't know exactly what the right keyword we were going to optimize for. And so after the content was done, I looked into Google AdWords, it's called the keyword tool, and went to find different permutations of SEO keyword research, SEO keyword analysis, and the SEO keyword strategy was a good fit. It fit organically into our web content and how I was talking about it anyways. And so then I went back through my content just one final time and replaced things where I said maybe keyword research, and I replaced it with SEO keyword strategy. So that's one way to do it and to make it fit organically. I think the most important thing for your content is on the topic you want it to be about, and then it's just leads to your verbiage. Does that help?
So I think absolutely. So be authentic first.
Yes.
And then don't miss an opportunity to bring in your keywords and be strategic about optimization. So there's an and that can be found, but it's all about balance. So thank you, Vance. That was a very good point.
And Google does notice when you do that in an inauthentic way. You know, they have restrictions on that. So when you're just keyword stuffing, not only alienating your target audience, but you're alienating Google as well. So that is it for the SEO section. I really liked this example just because it kind of shows that we drink our own Kool-Aid when it comes to marketing, and that really when it comes down to SEO, it's about the details and taking that opportunity to tag and to just do one extra step to research a keyword that you want to optimize for. So with that, Wendy is going to go ahead and go through our next steps.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hi, I was on mute. Excuse me. Thank you for letting me know, Vance. So we've thrown a lot of information at you in the past 44 minutes. So let's recap what we've discussed, and then we'd like to open the floor to questions. So the key elements of making your website worth visiting. The first was simplifying your message. We discussed how your homepage serves as the online storefront to your business, and using a modern style, keeping things simple and brief, not having too many words is very important, and having a nice, inviting, modern design that makes people want to explore further and very quickly shows how that site is relevant to what that person is looking for. Intuitive navigation is very important. People don't want to click too many times to get to the content they're seeking. 3 clicks is the maximum that people want to take. So provide a clear path to your core offerings right from your home page. Also provide a mobile experience that's adequate, if not wonderful, so that someone on their iPad or their smartphone can quickly find what they need without putting on, magnifying reading glasses, and easily serve up a way to contact you. Publish compelling and fresh content. That means not having a stale site where you put up a bunch of content and just leave it static for 3 years, but having an ongoing cycle of fresh content, and having content at different stages throughout the life cycle, whether someone's getting to know you right at the beginning of their relationship, or they're considering, purchasing from you versus someone else. Have different content to help guide that process. Also have case studies and quotes and ways to build credibility and differentiate yourself. Use premium content to convert visits to leads. If you don't have a piece of premium content such as a white paper or a webinar with a lead form, then you're missing a big opportunity to use your website within the sales funnel. And then blogging, as we discussed, is a wonderful way to keep your content fresh. It's an easy way to post content, and it attracts both the search fighters and hopefully attracts your audience if written in an authentic manner. And then finally, optimize intentionally. Do some research, know your keywords that you're trying to rank on, and use those keywords. Make sure they're in the image tags, headlines, metadata of your website, and really think about what new pages you need to create that are relevant back to that keyword that that you want to be ranked for. So we have a question from Terry. It says, how did the rank jump up before the publish date? So I think this is back, Holly, to one of your slides, and let me go back to that. Nope. Let's see. I believe we're discussing this one, maybe? No,
the one with the YouTube.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. A little bit further. One more.
Sorry. 130. Okay. There we go.
There. So to your answer, Terry, I think I might have had my marker off a little bit in my date. So here on the orange line, you see March 18th, and this is before the publish date. The blog post was published March 19th. So it might be just kind of an off, it's in between these dates of March 18th and April 1st. So that's what you're looking at.
Okay. And from Tanya, how do you judge what is and isn't a good keyword to use? That's an excellent question. Let me
look at that.
Yeah.
Great. So we try to aim for chunky middle to long tail, mostly because there's less competition there, and the keywords are more specific. So if you can be more specific with your content, you're getting more relevant visitors to your site. So those are good keywords. I wouldn't say these are bad keywords, but the broader you get with your keywords, so something very broad, and I think the example I had here was engine dyno, it's difficult to win on the first page of results because it is so broad, and there's a lot of different permutations of it, of what people are actually looking for. Maybe people are looking for engine dyno service companies in their local area, or maybe it's engine dyno tutorials. So that's where we try to do the distinction. So if you look at this graph, and I believe you guys get these slides after the webinar, try and shoot for words that are in the low thousands in terms of impressions and below.
And two other comments to make is we've done many studies where we've asked engineers, how many pages in Google are you willing to search? Like when you get your search results in Google, how deep are you willing to go? And what we've found is that engineers are willing to go 3 times deeper than the average person when it comes to search. So if you're showing up on page 2 or page 3 or even page 4, engineers are willing to do that extra work to find you. So I think that's an interesting search trend that's specific to this audience. And then the other thing to point out is this chunky middle to long tail strategy. If you're spending money in Google advertising, this is a very good way to maximize your marketing dollars. And if you're going after this top 100 to 500, this up here, you're just going to be spending a whole bunch of money, throwing money to the wind in many ways, and with what could have been better results, a greater ROI by going after the chunky middle and long tail. Another question here I see from Tanya, I've always been told to include keywords in titles, but sometimes it makes them too long. How long is too long for titles, especially blog titles? Ollie?
I would say, so going back to the authenticity of the content, keep it authentic. If you feel like you're forcing it, don't force it into the title. Put that keyword in the content as well. What I would say, a good rule of thumb for blog titles, about 10 to 14 words if you can.
Good. Other questions? Feel free to send them over. We have about 8 minutes. And while we're waiting on other questions, I will show just a few more things to think about. And this is a big one. Your website is never done. And we interact with companies a lot that put up a website and they say, wow, that was a lot of work. I'm so glad it's over. It's live. And they don't touch it for 3 years. You shouldn't look at your website that way. Your website is a living document. It represents your company in real time, who you are today in May 2013, and who you are come September 2013 may change. And so what's new? What news do you have? What new services are you providing? What big customer applications, customer problems have you solved that you can talk about on your website? So by adding fresh, compelling content, that will lead to repeat visitors and a greater return on investment for your website. Okay, from Vance, you've mentioned Google several times, almost synonymously with web search. Are there any other search engines that matter, or is Google really as completely dominant as it seems? And Vance, we stay on top of the search engine trends, and Google does dominate. Google has 82% of the market share, or I'm sorry, it's now 80% of the market share for search. So that we call that, and that's within the US. So that is pretty dominant. Bing and Yahoo are owned together. So the search results, the back-end algorithm, even advertising, it's served up to both. And they've gained a little bit. They're at 7 to 8% last time I looked. And so while I'm not saying Bing isn't important to look at, definitely Google owning the lion's share is the thing to focus on. And usually if you're winning on Google, you're also winning on Bing.
They're all the same.
Yeah. Okay, from Peter, how can you get a keyword to work for one's niche when the keyword is used in another larger industry? Holly?
So you can be more specific with an example. That might be helpful. But what I would say is if a keyword has dual meanings, like sometimes acronyms have dual meanings, go find the full version of it and be more specific. You don't want to waste your time on getting found or optimizing for content that is in a completely different space. You know, a good example that's relatively recent is monitoring and control systems. Sometimes you can get misconstrued for home monitoring and control systems, which is like forgetting the name off the top of my head, like Brink, one of those home security alarms. Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's the payroll, right?
Anyways,
so what you want to do first is really actually look on Google search yourself, find the companies that are getting found there and the companies that are advertising there, and see if that's a good fit for your industry. If it's not, then you'll probably need to rework the keywords a little bit.
Yeah, good. Good. So for more resources, we wanted to give you, if you want to go deeper on a given subject, we wanted to provide you with resources. And this first one is to encourage you. This is an infographic that we created. And when we talk about your website, it's really part of your core foundation of everything you do with marketing. So your foundation consists of your positioning and messaging of your company, your marketing plan, and your website. And once you have those in place, then you can begin working on the funnel where you're getting found, driving traffic to your website, you're generating leads from your website, and you're nurturing those leads and building loyalty. So your website is a key enabler in all of these steps within marketing. So here's other resources to find. You know, there's lots of things we could talk about with web that of course we didn't have time to touch on today, such as usability trends and content management systems. We didn't talk much about how to create a core positioning statement for your company or how that translates into a message. And we certainly didn't really talk about social media. So just examples of other things that are maybe a little bit tangential to web that certainly become integrated into your online strategy. So for more resources, you're welcome to visit TREWmarketing.com. And we have there a 15-point checklist for you to help you evaluate your B2B technical website. This white paper touches on many of the same topics but goes into more detail. We also have, if you're trying to build a marketing plan, another white paper called Smart Marketing for Engineers, and focuses on the 5 key elements of a marketing plan and 5 steps to take to build that marketing plan. And then finally, we have a blog, and we update it weekly. We have over 100 posts in this blog today. So if there's a particular subject you wanted to know more about, most likely you can find it by searching our blog. Now I see a question about will the presentation be posted on the CSIA members forum, and Bob says yes, it will be posted under events in the controlsys.org site. So thank you, Bob, for that.
You're welcome.
So we have 2 more minutes. Any final questions from anyone? You're welcome to chat them now. Otherwise, I encourage you to visit TREWmarketing.com and look at our resources there. And in conclusion, I hope that this was an informative presentation. I hope that we provided a lot of practical tips that you can immediately apply to your own site. And we very much appreciate you joining us today. Thanks so much.
Well, that was a fantastic presentation, and to all of the attendees, I want to thank you for your participation, especially all the questions that were asked. That's phenomenal, and I noticed that nearly everyone who registered came based on the numbers, so thank you. And my hope is that you have several takeaways that will enable you to take the necessary steps to make your website all it needs to be so that it serves your company well by bringing you new business. Wendy and Holly, thank you very much for the contribution of your time and expertise. Your presentation was very insightful, and we wish the best for you and all at TREW Marketing.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I want to say thanks again to Software Toolbox, a partner member of CSIA, who is our host and sponsor of all of our monthly webinars, and particularly thank Monica Anderson, who was at the controls today. So be sure to complete the survey for today's webinar. It'll arrive in your inbox within the hour, and it really only takes about 30 seconds to complete, and that feedback is used to help us to improve. So in closing, I have just 2 items to mention for you to consider. The June webinar is on Tuesday the 25th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, as today. We have Rick Reitz of DMC in Chicago, a certified CSIA integrator member, and with his presentation, it will be titled, Is It Time for Your Business to Begin Moving to the Cloud? And Rick is a highly rated CSIA conference presenter. So I would encourage you to attend that as well. It's a very, very hot topic no matter where you go these days. Secondly, I encourage you to go to the library called Resources for Managing Your Business. There you will find the new Marketing Toolbox, and this is a library full of marketing tools just recently developed by staff and the Ritterbusch Group, the marketing company with which we work. So check it out. It's all yours just by being a member of CSIA. And finally, if you have a suggested topic for a webinar, include it in your survey comments. So this is Bob Lowe, Executive Director. Thanks again for attending. Goodbye.
And I have stopped the recording.
Mm-hmm.